Here's what I used for the build. Of course a straw, some 0.6mm copper wire and the bucket of this candle. It's aluminium foil of 0.1mm gauge or even less. I can't measure it, but I don't have to know it as long as it fulfills my needs. I cut the straw to the length I needed. Then I cut out triangular bits of the upper end. It should look like it's been torn or blown off by an explosion. I stabbed the lower end with a needle and used the Dremel to imitate wear from rust. I cut 3 1.5mm wide strips from the aluminium foil. Then I cut 3 1.5mm long pieces of the copper wire. I glued the wire onto the middle of each strip and bent the foil around the rods. After the superglue had cured, I folded the foil open and bent it around the straw. I used a pair of pliers you see here to pinch the ends of the foil together. Then I used a needle to apply superglue to the joints. I used the yellow stripes on the straw for a proper alignment. I drilled 0.6mm holes in the middle of each strip from one side, the rear side in this case. Then I cut 3 pieces of wire of about 1.5cm length and glued them into the holes. I marked the position of the rods on the corner of the wall and then drilled just through the cardboard. The rods were put into the holes and after that glued with superglue. You want to be careful here because the glue would melt the styrofoam. Only a tiny bit around the joint is needed. Here's my professional palette again. I used the following oils for the last weathering process: raw umber, purple red, raw sienna, yellow ochre, lemon yellow and white. I applied rather random dots of each color to the wall, but I made sure of having more of the lighter colors around the upper edge. Then I washed off the oils using a white flat brush and mineral spirit. I did that in long vertical downward strokes. Since I wasn't satisfied with the result, I applied dots of the lighter colors again. I wanted clearly visible streaks and rain marks. On the other hand, I wanted them to be as subtle as possible, so I took my time on blending. This is really a simple thing to do with mineral spirit. I find it to be an easy to control medium. It only takes a little practice. For the edge of the ruin walls I only used lemon yellow and white oils. In the final steps of this build I'll apply some tiny brick debris and pigments. Next thing to do was taking care of the bullet and shell holes. They're only 0.5 millimeter deep, so they needed a special treatment to look real. I painted the upper 3/4 with black oil and the lowest portion with white oil. And then I carefully blended those colors and pulled a little of the light gray I had on the brush downward onto the wall. With a tiny bit of mineral spirit and several runs I blended the paint to imitate rain marks. Beneath the holes for the steps handrail I applied some diluted burnt sienna to represent rust streaks. The drain pipe got a base coat of German grey. Then I dry brushed it with dark grey. After applying a clear coat, a dark pin wash followed. Then I dry brushed some areas with metallic grey and others with light grey. The rest was done with red-brown acrylics and burnt sienna oil. The wallpaper was weathered with black pastel and diluted yellow ochre and lemon yellow oils. The wiring was painted black and dry brushed with dark grey. That's all there was to it. After positioning the furniture, I'll add debris and pigments. I painted several layers of diluted white acrylic onto the wall. The primer was still visible in many areas, but that's exactly what I wanted. After a flat clear coat, a wash with burnt umber and burnt sienna followed. That didn't turn out the way I wanted it, but after 3 runs of dry brushing with white acrylic I was happy with the result. Then I applied black and dark green pastels to some areas. The rust around the broken I-beams and on the walls was done with my red wash, red-brown acrylics, diluted burnt sienna oil and 2 different red-brown pastels. I hung a mirror above the wash basin. That was made from 0.5 mm plastic sheet and a piece of aluminium foil. Thanks for the idea, Eric. I want to point out that this is a lovely kit and the detail on the tools is amazing. All difficulties I had are the result of being inexperienced with photo-etched parts and my lack of patience. I don't have a professional bending tool, but it was easy to bend the parts of the toolbox with the stuff I have. It became difficult when I had to assemble the complex hinges for that box. I was really going nuts about those fiddly parts and it took me 4 hours to complete the assembly. I made my peace with the toolbox after I finished the paint job and stowed it on the shelf beneath the workbench. The shavings around the vise and on the shelf below are graphite powder I glued with flat clear enamel paint. Next were the few tools I wanted to have for the bench and the toolbox. These were the fiddliest things I ever worked with. The handles come in 3 pieces and so on. I attached them to a wooden spatula and started painting them. Some dry brushing will finish the job. The toilet bowl comes in 3 easy-to-clean pieces. There was almost no dust because I was able to do most of the cleaning with the hobby knife. Only the large block on the bowl needed the stronger tool. I primed and base coated the parts. For the wooden parts I used the same way of painting wood grain as I did on the wainscoting in the office. I wanted to depict a toilet bowl that's really dirty. Imagine a bombed out city where the water supply is interrupted. People have to flush the toilet using water from a bucket, if they have water at all. The water tank was scratch built. You can see all the parts I made in these pics. Here's the finished toilet.